Every day, ordinary people make extraordinary choices as they negotiate unpredictable pathways to the peak of their expectations without ever taking the time to enjoy the view. Join me, Tish Tindall, at this panoramic viewpoint of astonishing personal and professional progress as we find out why my next guest is living the fabulous life. Diane Aspinall, how are you this evening?
I'm very well, thank you so much.
I think you might have been on that intro.
I think I was. I think I was the one with the white top on. Randomly picking up pieces of clothing off the beach, I think.
So where are you this evening? Tell the viewers.
Where am I this evening? Sat in my lounge in Lossiemouth, speaking to you.
Well, that's fabulous. And you know, I've been reading up on you this week, and there are three things that stand out, and I want you to answer them. One is rugby. One is rugby. One is the Bird College logo, and one is Gillian Lynn. So let's start with the first one, okay? Now, it says in your notes that you played rugby because you wanted to be with the boys. Is that right?
Well, I'm not quite sure about that, but I was probably about 10 or 11 years old at the time. I think I was at middle school, where I went to school. It was a primary school, a middle school, and a high school. And I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, dance or anything. And I was always very athletic, a fast runner, only a sprinter, mind you, not long distance at all, completely useless. And there became a space in the boys' rugby team. And I think I must have just been doing some sort of circuits around the track at the time. And the games keeper said to me, "Dan, do you want to come and play? We're short of somebody to play rugby in the team." So I think I just got in that way, to be honest. It was purely by chance. And I was scrum half. I mean, I was only little, and they only had me on the team because I was fast. I didn't tackle properly around the legs. I used to get them by the neck and then tackle them down that way, but they still kept me on the team. I don't know why.
That's fantastic.
I mean, it was only because I was fast, not because I was really any good. But I did get kicked off the boys' rugby team eventually because one of the parents phoned up the school and complained that I was a girl playing on a boys' rugby team. So that was fine. That was just for a very short period in my life. I know. Discrimination.
Yeah, well, that stood out in your notes, though. It stood out in your notes. And, you know, the second thing that I noticed in your notes was that the Bird College logo was designed around you and a fellow student. Is that right?
Yeah, I was probably either in the last part of my first year or certainly in the second year maybe. And at the time, it was Doreen Bird College of Performing Arts at that time. It's now Bird's College. They were looking to redesign the logo. So Sue Passmore, who was the artistic director at the time, asked myself and my friend Thomas if we would be the sort of art. We basically got taken to an artist a studio and were asked to stand in various classical positions, arabesque, things like that. And we were sort of we were drawn, and the drawings that came back were they're absolutely beautiful. I think eventually the final logo wasn't all these beautiful sort of shapes and lines. It ended up being quite triangular, so my leg was probably 2 blocks of a triangle, and my body was probably a diamond. But we ended up being the logo for Bird's College in probably mid-80s, 1980s.
That's amazing. I've never heard anybody say that about themselves in my life. And this is the best one. This is the best one. Is this right? Okay, now tell me, did you or did you not write to Dame Gillian Lynn to ask her why she didn't pick you in an audition. And not only that, she replied.
I did.
Go on, tell me about it.
I did. Obviously, I was really young at the time. So I would have been probably 18. And the two jobs that there were two specific jobs that I really wanted to do when I was younger. One was to be in Cats, and the second one was the only cruise liner I ever wanted to go on was the QE2, which was then the flagship of the Cunard line. So anyway, so they were the two jobs. I auditioned for Cats 4 times. And loved it, absolutely fell in love with it. I always got right the way down to the last few people, and then when I got right down to the last few people, they'd always say, right, can anybody do point work? So I had my point shoes with me. Has anybody got any speciality skills, gymnastics or anything? So of course that was my background initially, and I used to do all these tumbling routines, and they kept me right to the bitter end, and I never quite got there. So, and I think at one audition I was really upset because I could see them looking at me, and I thought I might have just been in. I obviously picked at the post, and I didn't get the part. So I wrote to Gillian Lynn and asked her, what am I doing wrong? And she wrote back to me and she said, please don't give up. Please come back to the audition. The reason that you haven't been chosen is because you are not right at that point in time to replace the person that was leaving within the company. So it was amazing to get a letter back. Probably I didn't appreciate it quite as much as I would have done now. I was obviously so young at the time, but to get that response from her was just absolutely amazing.
And that must have really spurred you on. Did you that must have been something for a young girl of 18 to get that sort of response from, the lead choreographic designer
she was an amazing choreographer. Amazing.
How did you feel?
Amazing.
How did you feel when you got that letter?
I think I was shocked, to be honest, completely shocked. I remember I was in my bedroom at my mum and dad's house in Yorkshire, and I remember opening it and couldn't quite believe that I got a reply. So absolutely spurred me on to go back and audition again. I actually have to say I didn't go back and audition again because my paths went different directions and I ended up doing something else. But just to have that letter was pretty amazing.
And you say that gymnastics was your background. Did you do gymnastics from a young age?
From a very young age, no. I started dancing, hated it, cried all the time, and I think my mum was so embarrassed that she actually didn't take me back anymore. So I started gymnastics probably when I was about 6 or 7. Started off just as a hobby, and ended up becoming something much bigger. I probably did it from about the age of 6 to 7 till I was 10, maybe going on 11. And I used to go 3-4 times a week for about 3-4 hours a night. So it was a huge commitment for my mum at the time as well. And I was in the Yorkshire squad, and I absolutely loved it. I loved doing the competitions. I think there was one competition I did. I was the youngest in the squad. There were 5 in the squad. I was the reserve. So I was number 5. That is my lucky number now, actually. I was number 5. And we went to the competition. My mum and my grandma came. And I actually got 2 higher marks than my teammates. I think it was on the beam and on the floor. And so my points counted for the team. And the team ended up getting bronze, which was fantastic. However, I didn't realise at the time that because I was the reserve, I was the only one that didn't get the bronze medal. so they
Oh,
so they all got a medal apart from me. However, my grandma did take me down the shop and buy me a huge cuddly toy, so that was fine.
and
It was called Shadow the Sheepdog. I took him everywhere.
and did your grandma and your mum have an awful lot to do with your development as a gymnast and then later as a dancer?
They did. My mum I've got no brothers or sisters, and I was very, very close to my mum. She took me everywhere. And if she wasn't taking me somewhere, then my grandma and granddad would chaperone me to the next thing, whether it was dance or whether it was gymnastics. Yeah, they were huge, influential people in my life. And I miss them dearly.
And do you think it was important for you to have that support from family members? Did that really help you as a child?
Oh, absolutely. We had a really strong family bond. My mum was like my best friend, and so was my grandma. She was like a second mum to me. I just adored them. Absolutely adored them.
And as a developing dancer, did that help you? Did the support help you?
Oh, absolutely. Because eventually all I wanted to do was to go into dance. And when I went down to, I auditioned for Birds, and I auditioned for Ballet Rambert and Bush Davis. And I got into the schools, and I decided to go to Doreen Bird. One, because it didn't just focus on the classical side, it did all the commercial aspects as well. And my mum and my dad took me down to my board and lodgings. I was so excited to start this new phase. I was only 16, hadn't really been away from home before, came from a really small village in West Yorkshire, and always wanted to do this. Well, probably from being 11, really wanted to do this. And they took me down. They left me at this lovely lodgings with this older couple who were to look after me, with two other girls that were also starting in first year. I was so homesick. So homesick. I didn't know what had hit me. I didn't know what homesick was until I felt it. Yeah, but they were always there to support me. Always, and at the drop of a hat, my mum would get me a ticket to go back on the national repeat coaches from London to Barnsley. Or my granddad would drive down and pick me up or something like that. But the support was, I needed that. I needed that support. Yeah.
And previous to Bird College, you had been studying dance in West Yorkshire. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Yes. I started.
Was that
late.
with Dorothy Stevens?
Not initially. I started after I'd given up my little stint of rugby. I decided that I wanted to go at dancing, and at this time I'd finished gymnastics because I'd got to a point in my life where it was 4 nights a week for so many hours, and I think I also lost my nerve with gymnastics when I started going onto the high bars and things like that. So I gave that up, went into rugby, and then gave that up, and started dancing. And I went with my next door neighbour, who took me just to a local school, and just absolutely loved it. And I remember being put in for my first ballet exam. It wasn't RAD or ISTD, it was just a different organisation. And I was 11, and I remember doing this pre-primary ballet exam at 11 and doing this Scarecrow dance. And I got really high marks, and this school did medals after they'd done exam sessions. And because I got the highest mark in pre-primary Scarecrow dance, I had to go and perform it in front of a load of parents. I couldn't do it. I was just so embarrassed that I was doing a Scarecrow dance, and you know what? I can still remember the start of it today.
And was that because you were? Was that because you're older then? Why were you embarrassed?
Probably because I was older. I was doing an exam with tiny sort of 6-year-olds, 5 and 6-year-old. I was 11, And you know what? It's something that's always stuck with me. And I vowed that in later years, I vowed that I would never, ever make any pupils of mine feel so uncomfortable that they would have to do something like that and feel quite ridiculous. So my mum phoned in and said I was ill, so we didn't go and do this medal test. I didn't stay there that much longer afterwards. I ended up going to a Royal Academy school in Huddersfield. A lady called Barbara Peters. She was very good, and she very quickly said to my mum, look, you need to take her to Dorothy Stevens, who was about 45-50 minutes away from where I lived at the time, and that was a massive commitment for my mum to take me there. But she said, Dan, you know, if that's what you want to do, and Dorothy Stevens had got the best reputation in the whole of West Yorkshire. I mean, she was a phenomenal teacher. So I would probably have been about 12, 13 maybe, and my mum took me there for my first class, and I remember exactly what I wore. I wore this emerald bright green lycra ruched front leotard with this huge matching lycra emerald green headband, and I had a blonde hairnet, so my hair was just like scooped under at the end. I mean, I must have looked absolutely ridiculous. I had leather ballet shoes on with the most ridiculous ribbons that were probably tied in a bow on the wrong side of my leg and everything.
There's a theme there. There's a theme there, because I also read in your notes that when on your first day at Bird College, there was an interesting combination then also, wasn't there?
Do you know, there was this fantastic little boutique shop just outside Huddersfield. I can't remember what it was called. And we used to pass it from our house. We lived about 9 miles away from Huddersfield. And my mum and I used to pass it every, I wish I could remember the name. It was a lady's name. On the way into the centre of Huddersfield, it was on the left, and they had this huge glass window with all these outfits that they used to display, and we'd driven past this window, and it had this beautiful tracksuit. It was like a Terry Towling one. It was bright red bottoms, and it had this bright red top with a red and white striped back wing sleeves on it. And I said to my mum, do you know, Mum, I'd really love that. Anyway, we didn't get it, but eventually we did get it. She took me to the shop and she bought it for me. And I remember it's something like £40. And that was a lot of money in those days for a pair of, you know, a tracksuit. And I just absolutely treasured it. And I wore that for my first day at Birds College. And I must have been quite flamboyant at the time, or maybe not very good at putting on makeup. So I remember putting on this eyeshadow, and I think it was something like yellow, pink and blue striped eyeshadow. And I remember that was my first day at Birds College, yeah.
And you know, you got to London, and you were, what are you at this point, 16?
16, yeah.
And what was that like for you?
It's all I'd ever wanted, was to go to London and study dance there. And it was so exciting. It was so exciting to go. But as soon as my parents left, I think it really, really hit me that I was on my own. I mean, I still got all the support from my mum and my dad and my grandma and granddad at home. But I was on my own in this, you know, in the bright lights of London, a young girl of 16 coming from a small village in West Yorkshire in the country. So I was really homesick. I probably didn't do as much at Birds College as I should have done because I was desperately homesick.
And do you think that's the case for? Do you think that's the case for a lot of youngsters who go to London?
Obviously, I can't speak for individuals, but I think, you know, the shiny bright lights of a city are beckoning. You want that because you always feel that the grass is greener elsewhere. So I'm sure there are a lot of homesick young people out there that, you know, are away from their families. I mean, 16 is quite young to go down to, you know, such a huge city. I think if I'd have had my time over again, and Birds College was amazing. It was amazing, and I had, you know, fabulous opportunities, met amazing people. But I think if I'd had my time over again, I would have stayed at Dorothy Stevens. She was an amazing teacher. Amazing teacher. When I went there for the first time, she was probably in her late 50s, maybe early 60s, and her attention to detail, her technique, the way she taught, you know, just the respect that she had from her pupils and parents alike it was unquestionable. She walked into a room, nobody spoke, and it wasn't that she was scary. It was that she had so much knowledge, so much to give, and she was so inspirational. And she used to dance, and she was just she was a fabulous teacher. She gave her life to dance, to this industry. She was an amazing teacher. She was an examiner for the Royal Academy of Dance. She gave her life to help young people. So yes, if I had my time over again, I probably would have gone to Dorothy Stevens full time, because at the time she just started teaching full-time students. But because I had just come in then, there was no government funding. In fact, then it wasn't government funding, it was council funding. I was lucky enough, I auditioned and I got a grant from Kirklees Council to send me to Birds College. I wouldn't have had that if I'd have gone to Dorothy Stevens. But yes, so, you know, the bright lights were beckoning. It's not always greener going elsewhere, because you don't have that support network of your family and friends so close by to you.
But then going to Bird College was a huge catapult for you and for your international career. And what I find most interesting is that, you know, you might not have got this part in Cats, but you then went on to dance all over the world on the QE2, and I think you were the only one of the only British performers, were you, to get that opportunity?
I was. As I said earlier, the two jobs I wanted was Cats and the QE2, and there was an advert that came up in the Stage magazine asking people to go and audition in London for the QE2 and other Cunard cruise liners. So I travelled down to London, and I think at the time the audition was at Danceworks, and there were probably about 200 people in the room, and it was absolutely jam-packed. I remember warming up, and I'd be leaning forward and my head would be touching the person that was in front of me, also warming up. And we had a routine taught to us, and we were then cut. I was still there. It was then cut again. We were then taught a different routine, and I remember I slightly blanked on the routine, and I think there were 4 of us dancing, and I saw the choreographer look at me and he said, keep going, and I did. I kept going, and they kept me till the end, and that's something that I've always instilled in the people that I teach. If you forget something, keep going, finish it off, go for it like you didn't forget anything, like it never happened. So I kept going, and I think there were probably 10 of us at the end of the audition in a lineup, and we were asked to do pirouettes and various other things, jetés and things. And I felt the audition had gone really well, but again, you can never tell. You go to so many auditions, some you get, some you don't get. And I got a phone call probably about a week later offering me the job on the QE2. Wow, I could not believe it. Wow, I was absolutely blown away. So I had all
and
the paperwork.
This was a special performance, wasn't it? I mean, this was the 150th anniversary, wasn't it, of the Cunard line?
Actually, no, it wasn't initially. It wasn't. It was the contract before, because when I got my paperwork, the visa form that I had to fill in said, "What is your purpose?" I've never been to the States, and my family hadn't at the time. Never been to the States before, and the visa said, "What's your purpose of your visit to America?" So filled it in work. So my visa application came back. No, I was not allowed into America to go and work. So it was turned down. My visa was turned down, so I couldn't take the contract. So
what did that do to you? What did that do to you?
I was distraught at the time. This was something that I'd always wanted to do. So I was absolutely distraught. But there was no, I mean, that was it. That was the red tape. There was nothing we could do about it. My grandfather, he employed an American visa expert in London to try and get it removed. It took 6 months, and then it was overturned, and my passport was okay then. So there was a great big stamp in my passport saying no entry to the US. And I was really lucky that the company it was Gene and Ryan Productions, based in America. They said to me, "Look, get your visa sorted. We'll take on the next contract." So my visa was sorted. I arrived probably about 4 days into rehearsals because I had to wait that full 6 months for my visa to be granted. So never put work. If you want to go to America, never put work. You will not be allowed in. Yeah, I flew out from, I think it must have been Manchester to Miami, and my parents had got me a taxi to take me to Fort Lauderdale where the rehearsals were, and I met all the rest of the cast there, and they were all American. There was 2 Australian and 1 English guy, Simon, who just come from the Royal Valley, so everybody was. So we were all from all over the world, and
that must have been so exciting.
It was absolutely. I kept getting all the lingo wrong in America. I was calling, "Can I get some ketchup?" Or did I say no? I used to say tomato sauce. So I ended up getting a bowl of tomato sauce for my chips rather than ketchup, and all sorts of stuff. And it was.
So tell me.
Fabulous.
So tell me, you then went on, your career in professional dance was really quite flamboyant. And, one of the things that really I found as a Scottish lassie quite interesting was you ended up dancing with Francie and Josie. Is that right?
I did.
Now, those of us of a certain age will know who that is, and I don't feel it needs to be explained. But did you even understand what they were saying?
Not got a clue. But they were fabulous. Yeah, this was, I actually left Birds a little bit earlier than the end of my 3rd year because I just went for an audition in London, a huge audition, just for the experience. And I ended up getting chosen. And it was, at the time, he was a huge choreographer. At the time, he was called Dougie Squires, very, very well known. And I got picked along with about 6 other girls and boys to do various contracts around the UK for him. And one of the contracts was a summer season in Glasgow at the King's High. Now, I'd never been to Scotland before. So it was at the King's High Theatre in Glasgow. And it was a huge show that was put on. It was a reunion with Francie and Josie. And I think it was the first time that they performed together in 20 years or something like that. And at the time, I didn't realise how big they were and how well known they were. So we
huge stars.
Absolutely. And obviously, I didn't appreciate that at all at the time. And they were really nice people, really, really nice people. No, couldn't really understand a word that was being said, but I tell you what, the house was packed every single night, and it was loud. People were laughing beyond, oh, it was a fantastic atmosphere. It was amazing.
You know what's really interesting listening to you is that there's a theme here, and it's definitely about, you know, the support of family and also the kindness of people. How important do you think kindness is in this business?
Well, do you know what? I think it's the same in any walk of life, but you know, there's always somebody out there that's better than you, you know, that really wants a job. You've got to be compassionate. You've got to be nice to people, you know, and life's too short not to be. You know, you step out of line. You're not appreciative of what's been handed to you. You'll be out the door, because there is a queue behind you of lovely people waiting to take your place. So kindness is, I would say, is everything, and being really appreciative of what you get.
So you have this wonderful career, and fast forwarding now a year or two,
All three.
well, maybe two. You have a performing arts college and a theatre school in Lossiemouth. What keeps you wanting to give people opportunities? What drives you now?
Do you know what? I absolutely love what I do. I love the people that come through the door. It's not always easy, and there are a lot of characters that come through the door. But do you know what? We're all different, and I love the fact that the school that I am part of opens its doors to anybody from any walk of life, people with disabilities, people that maybe are less fortunate than others. And I love the fact that we are in some way able to brighten up their day or their life, or give them a lifeline, you know, and seeing
your style. Sorry, carry
sorry.
on. Sorry.
No, just please carry on.
Your style of directing and producing is sometimes not so kind, however. So, and I know this. I happen to know this from experience.
Oh.
What are you looking for then? If you're you know, saying that you're delighted that people from all walks of life are walking through the door to Loss Entertainment Academy, but yet you have really, really high expectations. And anybody who has seen your shows, you know, up and down the UK will know and have commented, because, you know, it's been talked about. You know, you have this very specific, meticulous attention to detail that maybe brings out the best in people. So is that why you want to work with everybody? Is that what it is, Diane? So you can bring out the best in them?
Absolutely, without a doubt. Yes, attention to detail. Yes, going over and over things, but not going over them so you're repeating things incorrectly. Just really, I love working with all ages and helping them to bring out the best in them. Seeing them thrive, seeing how they progress, seeing how they, you know, how they grow in confidence. And yeah, absolutely, attention to detail. It absolutely has to be. Yes, I am really picky you know, on how you stand, how you present yourself, how you leave the stage, how you come off the stage, how you breathe, where your eyeline is, where your arm is, where you finish off the phrasing. Absolutely, because that makes, you know, that makes you the performer that you are. And whether you're going to follow a career in this, you know, in this industry, or whether you're going to do something completely different with your life, I think this sort of training absolutely keeps your feet grounded, that, you know, you have to keep striving for more. You can keep striving for more. There is always something more in you. You can push for more and more. Never get to a point or feel pushed into a corner, because once you get to that corner, you can go elsewhere. You know, attention to detail, absolutely. Phrasing, quality, technique, absolutely.
And that takes a lot of energy from the director and the producer. And do you think that, you know, you having such experience, I mean, you are an actor, you're a singer, you're a dancer, you're a choreographer, you're a teacher, you're a fitness instructor, you're a director, you're a producer, you know, you're doing documentaries now. Now, one of the projects that you're working on, Diane, is something that we've worked on together for about 6 years now.
Yeah.
And a couple of things have sort of transpired just this past week. How does it make you feel to be, I suppose, putting this into a bigger arena? You know, how does it feel to be finally be talking to people who really want to take this project further on a much grander scale? How do you feel?
Do you know what? I can't put it into words, to be honest. I always knew that this project was exceptionally special. I always knew that it wasn't a one-hit wonder, and I always knew that it wouldn't happen overnight. It was, we're in for the long haul here. And we always believed that that's what would happen. We always gave it a 7-year timeline. And for this to absolutely come to fruition, and for us to be given this opportunity on this scale, it's mind-blowing. I have no words.
And, you know, I think it probably is okay to mention that it is Robert Burns, the musical that we're talking about, which of course was first an idea by David Guest and Michael Jackson. But 7 years on, it isn't that anymore. And the show has changed a lot. How did you keep going? You know, how did you keep going for this amount of time?
Do you know what? That was easy. That was the easy part, to keep believing in the musical and to keep going. Yes, it's changed beyond belief from where it started, which was amazing when it started. It was amazing. But to where it is now is so very, very special. And I think that when people hear the words and the melodies of what has been written, I think they're going to be blown away. There's something really magical about this musical, and I truly can't put it into exact words. But it's very, very special. It's very magical. It's very haunting. The music is out of this world, and the words are inspirational, intertwined with the composers, lyricist words, and Robert Burns' words. It's genius.
But I think it's been the direction that has caught the eye of somebody, isn't it? So your unique approach to direction, which is to, I suppose, choreograph the moves of everybody on the stage and not just the dancers. You know, that's something you developed over many, many years. And I always thought you were just a bit of control freak, but maybe you're not. So this has caught the this has caught the eye of somebody. You know, how does that make you feel? I mean, congratulations! This is brilliant.
Again, words. but you couldn't do this if you didn't have the material to work with it in the first place, and if you didn't have if you didn't feel it from inside. This is something that comes from inside. It's not something superficial on the outside. And I think as a creative person, when you feel that pull and the emotions with the pieces that you are lucky enough to work with, the rest is easy.
If you look back, right now on everything that you've done, and life can't be easy all the time. Mm-hmm. What has got you through? Why are you still in the performing arts, and what has got you through to this point?
I think always you've got the support of your family and your loved ones, but belief. I think for me, I love what I do. I love working with people that come through the door that maybe come once a week and they're just doing it for fun. I love working with the people that come and bring the sleeping bags pretty much and work with us, almost every day of the week. And it makes no difference who they are. It's just the belief that you can help to brighten up a person's day, their life, give them the confidence to get up in the morning, to go to school, to speak to the friends, because, life's hard. So I think that what we do is not always geared around, people entering into a profession in the performing arts. It's giving people life skills to do anything that they want to do in this world.
And I mean, no doubt in your professional career as a dancer, but also as your 30 plus years, if you don't mind me saying that, as an educator.
That's very kind. Oh yes.
And I said educator there.
You did.
There will have been some incredibly fabulous moments. Is there anything that stands out for you that, is you could have stood back and looked at it and said, you know what, I really am living the fabulous life?
You know what, I feel absolutely blessed that I work with a fantastic team of very talented and committed teachers who want the best for their pupils, not for themselves. They want it for their pupils. They want their pupils to be better than they ever were. And that's what I want for everybody that comes through our door. You strive for what you want. The sky's the limit. And I am so, so blessed and so lucky that I've got such a fantastic team of people around me that enables me to do what I do. And also, as a team, we're able to help so many young and not so young people.
Well, Diane Aspinall, I know that for a fact that everybody who works on your team is absolutely in awe of your talents and your generosity as a performer and an educator. And, this has been an absolute pleasure for me to hear about your life as a performer and what got you to where you are now. I know there are some pretty massive projects ahead for you, and I can't wait to see where that takes you. And Dan, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show. And without a doubt, Diane Aspinall, you are living the fabulous life. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed for having me. I really appreciate it.